and Scott. See, I got it right.
You did great. You did great. Oh my gosh. Debbie, you did great. In front of everyone, I'm letting you know you did a phenomenal job. Good evening. My name is Scott, grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I'm in recovery for sex addiction and compulsive overeating. Hey, I'm glad you guys are here tonight. It's good to see you guys. Man, I missed you guys last week. I spent the week up at Christian Break Camp. Yeah, Nick came up and hung out with us for a night. But man, I told a lot of jokes. So I want to tell one joke. This is my favorite joke that I told up there. I told it in our prayer meeting, but it just made me laugh a lot when I told it last week. And so, where do pirates get their hooks? Where do pirates get their hooks? From the secondhand store. Boom! Come on! That was awesome. Come on! Oh. Dude, it was like a circus up there at Christian Beret. I mean, it was intense. It was great. It was great. Some of you guys will get that one later, too. Come on. Oh, goodness gracious. Hey, tonight, we do have a great message. And anytime you start to teach a message on give and stuff like that, you come to a point where, man, if I was in the audience, I would feel like someone's trying to manipulate me. And as addicts and as codependents, we have felt enough manipulation in our life. And so tonight, as I talk, as I share, I'm not trying to manipulate or convince you to do something. I'm simply in letting you know, and I'm going to inform you of some needs that we do have. And the reality is, if you can help, you help. If not, you can't. I totally get it. And some of us want to help, and they give tons. But I don't want to make it feel like I'm trying to manipulate you guys into anything this evening as I talk, but I am going to share some needs. Tonight, our topic is give. And the basic thought, the basic principle of when we get to step 12 is you can't keep it unless you give it away. You cannot keep it unless you give it away. When I meet with my sponsors, the fact that they ask me questions and I'm like, dude, I'm struggling with the same thing. So let me tell you what you should do and then see if I can apply that to my own life. It is awesome. Happened today in one of my meetings today at lunch. It was great. Thank you, Sam. But in the OA 12 by 12, this is what it says. It says, we now have a message of hope to carry to others. We who once suffered from complete powerlessness to control our behaviors and our lives have now discovered the saving strength of a power greater than ourselves, God. We have experienced the miracle of physical, emotional, and spiritual healing, just as we promised when we began these steps. And I just found that very, very amazing and so true. There's so many of you, when you walked in this room the first time you were here, you were hopeless. And through the course of coming to Celebrate Recovery, to going to open share groups, to finally getting into a step study, when they finally got open, you were open and you found hope. And you found healing, and now, as you find that hope and healing, you can give it to somebody else because there's other people and you know who they are. Because I see you guys go who have been in recovery in these rooms, and you find the buddy that used to shoot up with you, walk in the door, and you're like, I know you. There's plenty of people out there in the world that need hope. And that's our job, and we get to this step to be able to give back. Because you can't keep it unless you give it away. And that's huge for us. So Matthew chapter 10, verse 8 says this, freely you received, so freely give. Freely you received. How much money did it cost you to come here? Freely give. Does your sponsor charge you to meet with him? No. Some of you are like, yes, get a new sponsor. Some of us use counselors as our sponsor. Find a new sponsor. But that is huge. Freely you've received. You received from Christ. You've received from the teaching. You've received from the worship. You've received from people in the food line. You've received from your open share facilitator. You've received from your step study facilitator. You've received from the person sitting next to you in open share group. So freely give. Amen. Freely give and share. And that's what we're talking about tonight. If he does not want to, this is from the AA Big Book, page 90. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade him. You may spoil a later opportunity. And that is a great message for those of us who have loved ones who are addicts that are down and out and they're struggling and they know that they should be in recovery, but they're not quite ready yet. And we've nagged them and we've talked to them and we've told them time and time again. And it is making that relationship worse and worse. Let them know. I got guys that are coming, gals that are coming, and they go, how do I get my spouse to show up? Well, first, why don't you work your recovery and show them through the way God is changing your life and see that it is attractive and that they would want something you got. That is the thing that we get. When I started recovery and Scott Miller started to disciple me and show me lots of different things, man, he was like, Scott, do you have what somebody else wants? Because when I sit in a room and I'm looking for that sponsor, when I'm sitting in a room and I'm looking for that person that I want to be my accountability partner, I look for somebody who they have something I want and I go after that. They find healing, not the guy that's sitting there sharing, oh, I relapsed again. They share the same story every week. I want that guy. Well, sometimes it's easier to find somebody that's struggling just the same level we are, but it doesn't help us grow. So we want to find somebody that they've got something we want. They've got 1 year, they got 2 years, they got 3 years, they got 15 years. That's the guy, that's the gal that I want to be my sponsor. And so I seek after them, I pursue them. She was up for Christian Praise last week too. Yeah. Give them back. So don't spoil that chance for later opportunities. Let them see by your works, and then when they come and they have an opportunity to ask you, hey, what's changed? You have a chance to share with them, hey, I've been going to this ministry called Celebrate Recovery, Tuesday nights. You should come with me. You should come to Open Share Group and go to a Open Share Group with me. Be there. Be awesome. And it says this, when we have been given a lot of things in life, we need to also give those things back. We need to give them back to others. So what do I share? When I go into Open Share Group, when I go into Step Study, when I go do those things, when I'm in there, what do I share? Well, I share 3 things. It's the first way that you can give back when you go to your Open Share Group. First thing, share your experience, share your strength, and share your hope. If you've been coming to any recovery program, you know a good group from a bad group. You know the groups when you sit down and you hear experience, strength, and hope, that's a good group. When you sit down in a group and it is the pity pot, that is not a good group. Now, granted, every group has its night. I get it. Every person has its night. But we want to share our experience, our strength, and our hope. This is how I used to behave as an addict, and this is how I behave now that I'm in recovery. Where do I find my strength? Well, this is what I do when this happens in my life. I do this. I call my sponsor. I 4th step it. I get a hold of my accountability partners. This is what I do. And where do you find your hope? How do you know that your life is going to continue to get better? By the things that have happened in the past, you find your hope in Jesus Christ. That Jesus Christ is true to his word, and he is faithful, even when we are unfaithful. So let's get into the acronym of GIVE, and that is this: God first. Making sure that God is first in our life and in our recovery. So many of us, we've put our drugs and our alcohol and our porn and our other stuff ahead of God. Even the codependents put their addicts in front of God. If their addict was doing good, then all was good in the world. If their addict was not doing good, everything was drama and chaos and craziness and control. That's some crazy stuff. So we got to put God first. We have to look at our priorities. We have to look at our priorities. What is your priority? Some of us know the church answer, and God is always the church answer. Jesus. That's always the church answer. But here's the thing. Dive deeper. Is that truth in your life? Look at the last 24 hours. Look at the last week. Can you truly, honestly say that God is the first priority in your life above the other things? Sunday was Father's Day. And for many of us sitting in this room, our fathers were our priority that day. And we put our fathers first above everybody else, not saying God, but how do we do that with God? How do we put him first? Are you spending time with him? Are you doing the 11th step, maintaining your conscious contact with him? Romans 8:32. He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? God wants to bless us, pour his favor out upon us, and he knows that we need him. The question is, are you going to realize that you need him more and more? Not that everything's going okay, and so therefore you don't need God as much, or when everything is crazy, that's when you call out to him. But have you truly put God first? The I is this. I becomes we. You're not alone, so don't work in isolation. If you've made it through this far and you're on your 12th step and you still don't have a sponsor, you probably need to start over, because I needs to become we. You need to have a sponsor. You need to work the program. I can't pick up the phone, Scott, and you're on step 12 and you still can't pick up the phone when you're struggling. Got some more work to do, and that's okay. That's okay. But you got to be honest. Don't be a lone ranger. Don't be the lone wolf. You've got to be able to have the understanding that it's a we. The people sitting around your open share group, that's the we. The people sitting in your step study, that's the we. Your accountability partners, your sponsor, that's the we. I use this example all the time, but I went to a training, and in that training, it was one of the craziest experiences of my life, going to Dallas, Texas, and that was just a whole story in and of itself, and I will rabbit trail and ADHD out of teaching the message, but on that trip, they told us this rugby story, and I know nothing about rugby, but it's awesome, and you hit people, and you tackle people, and you get in this scrum, and it's violent, and so therefore I love it. But I've never played it. Scott Miller did, and so he was able to verify a lot of these things. But in rugby, as you're running down the field, you've got the ball. I think they should call it a ball. They got something, looks like a football, but bigger. And as they're running, their teammates are running alongside them. And their teammates are yelling out, with you on the right, with you on the right, with you on the right, with you on the right. So when you're getting in trouble, guess what? You can pitch the ball. And then you get creamed, and then it's awesome. And then they get to run with the ball, right? But this idea that in recovery, who are the people that are with you? Who are the people that you are coming alongside, and you're giving them that call? You're giving them that text message and saying, with you, with you, with you, so that they know that you're there. That's why we make our 3 phone calls a day to people, is so that we know that we're with them, and they know that they're with us, that they're with each other in this journey and in this process. When was the last time you talked to your sponsor? Good call, right? Matthew 22 through 37 says this. And he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments depend all the law and the prophets. Love the Lord your God. Put God first. Love people. Giving back. Love God. Love people. You do these things, and a lot of things in life are going to be going really good for you. A lot of things in life will be going good for you. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 and 10 say this: two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. The guy who stops going to meetings doesn't hear what happens to the guy who stops going to meetings. The guy who's not calling his sponsor, not getting in touch with his accountability partners, those are the guys that when they stumble and they fall, that little slip turns into relapse. We need those people around us. The V in give is this, is victories shared. How are you sharing your victories? How are you sharing those accomplishments that have happened in your life? The small ones. Hey, I went to a pizza buffet and I only had 2 pieces. Yeah. No, that's not a real story of mine. I'm just telling you as an example. I just want to be honest with you. And I had 5 plates of salad, but it was great because the ranch was phenomenal, right? You get it? Is how are you sharing the victories? No matter how big, no matter how small. How are you sharing those things? But the reality is there are things. Man, I can have a handful of Cheez-Its and not eat the whole box. That is true. That was a struggle for me. I used to not be able to do that. How are you doing in those things? What are your small victories? When I go out and I find, and I'm sitting at a restaurant and an attractive woman comes in and she sits down and she's in my eyesight or my peripheral, my old nature was to go and look and look and look and look. They called it bouncing your eyes, but I did it reverse where my eyes kept bouncing back to her, right? Yeah, I know. But now I make sure that I focus away from her, and if need be and I'm struggling, I literally get up and I physically change my seat and my back goes towards her so I can sit. For some of you, you're like, whoa, that's awkward. You're creepy. I know I'm creepy. I'm a sex addict. That's why I have to change. I get it, but share your victories. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 3. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies, the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort that which we ourselves are comforted by God. And we use that as our 12-step verse because I just love that so much. That verse rings home. The comfort that you've been given, you would be able to give other people that same comfort. Because as a sex addict, you're right, I do have that feeling that I feel like a pervert a lot. And I know the other sex addicts may be feeling with the same thing, and so I can understand that. And I can reach out, and I can help comfort them through those tough times. When they literally sit there, and I was meeting with the guy just last week, and he's like, I can't control my eyes. How do I control that? Awesome. Here's how you do it. Here's how I did it. Romans 8:28 says this, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. The E in give is this, is example of your, be an example of your actions. James 1:22 says this, but be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Going and sitting in a garage all day doesn't make you a car. Right? Going and sitting in a recovery meeting doesn't mean you're in recovery. What makes you in recovery is when you start the process of working your steps. When you start on step 1, when you start working towards step 2, when you get to step 3 and you surrender your life and your will over to the care of God. Step 4, and you actually do a complete moral inventory. And not just, I'm going to do this thing, but you do a complete one. Your actions start to change. Your examples start to change. Life starts to change. John 3:18 says this, little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. that the people that you're around, when you have gone through recovery, when you actually start to work the steps, they will start to see the change. When you're a person who never says, I'm sorry for anything ever, and all of a sudden you make a mistake and you go, hey, I'm sorry, that was disrespectful, or that was rude. What? Mind-boggling. They're like, whoa, something is different in you. When we start to do those things and we work our program and it starts to affect how we behave and how we act and how we treat others, people will notice. And that becomes awesome because there's change in who we are. Last quote, you can give without love, but you can't love without giving. You can come up, you can throw money in the pot, and that's awesome. But if you love a ministry, if you believe in a ministry, if you do that kind of stuff, then there's more behind that. Not that you'd have to give more money, but there's a little bit more that's a little bit different in your motivation and how you give, how you do those things. There's some people that are just givers and they just do things. They're just servers. They go and they serve and they serve and they serve and they get exhausted and they get emptied by the end of the night, but they don't have any joy in it. But when you love a ministry, when a ministry has transformed your life and has changed you, then guess what? You give back to that same ministry. And everybody is going to be a little different. Everybody's going to be a little different. We're all in different stages of life. Some of you work up until the time that you can get here, and you're even at the time you get here, you're missing worship. And so there's not a lot that you can give beforehand. But let me share some of the needs that we have in our ministry. I mentioned the transition in my life, my responsibilities here. Don't allow me a lot of extra time to do some of the things that I used to do throughout the week. We need help with our food team. We need help with people to be able to show up and help serve and prep and get ready. I think tonight, Nick, you showed up, right? You helped out. We got Steve, yeah. Let me shoot straight with you. I hate pork. I hate pork. Pork is horrible. Unless it's pastor. Then it's good, or in a sausage or bacon. I can do that. Anything else? I don't like it. But I'm trying to talk with Steve, and I'm like, hey, what are some ideas? Because I don't know if I want to do tri-tip again. I love tri-tip, hecka expensive. And he's like, hey, let's do some pork. And I'm all, what? We got pork, and I heard it was great, Steve. I didn't have any, but I heard it was great. So great job on that, but we're trying to give those things, those responsibilities. We need people to get here early to cook. If it's one or two people, man, they can only do so much. Shopping. Hey, I'm ADD. My wife says, hey, you may need to write down a list to go shopping. A list? What? No. I forgot the butter for the cornbread. See, I need a list. I need people to help me out, man. So we need people that will maybe have a free schedule and they can go shopping for us. They can get the food and bring it in. I mean, you're shopping for 100 people. You got to make sure you have all the plates, you have all the napkins, you have all the forks, all the knives. And spoons. Or we can go old school and get rid of the forks and then rid of the spoons, and we can go spork. Yeah, remember those? Those were awesome. Do you remember those sporks? It was a spoon that had little prongs at the end like a fork. They were sporks, man. Oh, they were awesome. Good times, right? We need help with worship. We need people that can get here early with worship, that can play an instrument, they can bang on a drum and they know what they're doing. Right? We need somebody to play guitar, bass, electric guitar, keyboard, sing. And when I was in Alaska, we had this, oh man, I'm running out of time, but I'm going to share this anyhow. When I was in Alaska and I was a youth pastor up there, we had this guy, and he had turntables. And he would come in like twice a month, and he would help lead worship with his turntables, and it would be all, It was awesome, man. We were scratching during worship. It was crazy. And I know some of you guys were partiers. You may have some turntables we need to bring in here and do a little, we need to get it down. Come on. Goodness. Oh, right? We need help with our greeters. We need help. Man, we've got greeters there, but man, how great would it be when you walk in this room, there's people standing at the doors greeting you. That'd be great. We need help with that. We need help with the information booth. We need people to write name tags. I mean, have you seen my handwriting? That's why I don't do that. And I'm dyslexic, so your names would never be spelt right. That's fact. No cap, right? We need help. We need help in the coffee area. We need help in the sound booth. We need help doing screens. Darren's up there right now, and he's doing a great job trying to follow me. I mean, I'm difficult to follow sometimes. We need camera people. Steve, I'm getting a workout today. I'm sprinting from one side to, and can you keep me in the, oh, I'll fake you out, bro. Got you. Right, we need people to do cameras, right? So we need those people. We had somebody tonight that couldn't show up tonight, and I had to find at the last minute someone to do counting. What? I know, we got to count people. If it's past 20, and I'm out, because all I got is 10 fingers and 10 toes, man. I'm out. So we gotta help with that. We have a ministry called The Landing. Zach had his last night. We have some people that serve in there. They give back in there. But they can't be there all the time. We need people that'll be able to help teenagers. Do you remember what you were doing when you were a teenager? Remember hopping out of that window? Remember going to that party? Smoking the reefer, the old devil's lettuce, the wacky tobacco, yeah. No, it wasn't me. I would never do anything like that. Right? We got teenagers that are at that point that either they're dealing with that or their parents have dealt with that. Some of you have dealt with your hurt from that. It was handed to you by your parents. And yet you've received comfort from that in here. When I was in high school and junior high, I was addicted to porn. I wish I had a safe place that I could go tell somebody about it and they would listen to me and they'd help me. I got handed a Bible verse. Let me pray for you, brother, and then never talk to me again. That's that weird guy. Look, he just keeps looking at the girls. I know, man. God wants to do some amazing things, and he needs your help. We need help in our Rock Solid Kids. Tiffany does a great job in there, and she has help, but man, we need some other adults in there. And it's not every week, but maybe you could give up 1 week a month to give a time to go in there and to serve. So we can have some more adults over those kids. Because have you been around those kids? They got energy. Like, awesome, right? We got a lot of things that we need help with around here. Step studies. It's been a long time since we started a step study. And my thoughts. We probably have started one fairly recently, but in my mind, man, if it's not happening, I just know I get a lot of calls and a lot of people talk to me going, hey, when's the next step study starting? Which tells me there's people out there that are looking for recovery and we can't provide it unless we get a step study. I just encourage you, man. Step out in faith. Give back. Help others. Help us. Oh, there was one other verse I was going to read. Darn it. All right, this is the last verse right here. Luke 8:16 through 19. No one lights a lamp, then covers it with a wash tub or shoves it under the bed. No, you set it up on a lampstand so those who enter the room can see their way. We're not keeping secrets. We're telling them. We're not hiding things. We're bringing everything out into the open. So be careful that you don't become misers of what you hear. Generosity begets generosity. Stinginess impoverishes. And my guess is that's the Message version. But here's the deal. You guys have God has given you a light. He's given you hope. Don't put it under a lampstand. Don't put it under a bowl. Don't hide it under your bed, but share it. Give back, because you can't keep it unless you give it away. Let's stand and close our time of serenity prayer. Oh, here's our focus question. What is your spiritual experience as a result of the 12 steps? What is your spiritual experience as a result of the 12 steps? Remember to share your experience, strength, and hope. And then let's close with serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it. Trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. Amen. Hey, first-time guests right across the hallway, second-time guests right up front. We'll see you at dessert. Love you guys.